How are you?
Good. So what have you been up
That
to?
radio
recently?
voice.
Yeah,
See
he
that?
does. That's deep. That's deep voice. You looking to do some of this stuff at some point?
Not right now.
What are we looking to do here post playing career?
I'm just hanging out, trying to help players, help younger players. Guide the way a little bit.
Nice. All right. So how about what's your reaction to Kawhi going to LA?
I was surprised. I thought he had the table set for him in Toronto, but obviously, he's a hometown guy in terms of wanting to be in that LA market and in that space. I think it's a good look for the Clippers.
I'm interested to see your view when you mean that the table was set in Toronto.
He already won a championship. Got a whole sort of country behind you. Outside of maybe Wayne Gretzky, probably the biggest sports guy in Canada. So I just thought that was a lot to give up and walk away from, just in my opinion.
Yeah, especially when it took you so long to get to a place where you could win, right? And then you walk away that easily. That's got to be difficult.
Yeah, again, I think everybody kind of knew he was looking at LA. I'm not sure if folks thought he was eyeing the Clippers. Obviously, the PG thing was a big twist because I wasn't expecting that either. But we'll see how it works out for them.
If he goes back this year, they're probably the favorite again.
Right.
Do you think those teammates he left behind, maybe they take a hit psychologically and thinking maybe he felt that they could not do it again?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what his reasoning was behind it. I just know it's tough, right? It's obviously tough to go through that and then try to do it again. But he made, if you think about a guy who was out a whole year and then come back and lead a franchise to an NBA championship, it's a heck of a feat.
We're asking this guy if he's surprised Kawhi. Maybe we should have started with the guy that he used to play with. We're two idiots. How about the guy in Golden State that's now in Brooklyn? Were you surprised about that?
That was a surprise. Again, KD's kind of a nomad personality. And he just felt like we text after, and he just felt like he had accomplished what he came to Golden State to accomplish. That was win a couple championships. I think now, business may be more of a decision in terms of his look and going to Brooklyn. Obviously, he's going to be out all year, so he's looking at a situation to go into fresh, I guess.
What was his relationship like with everybody in that lot? Because people, even Kendrick Perkins, made it sound like, hey, he's gone because Draymond Green yelled at him.
Yeah, KD's a little bit stronger than that. I wouldn't put it on him that way. I think KD just is wired differently. He's always looking for a challenge. I think he likes sort of being the guy that people can't figure out. I think that's his personality. But he's a complete basketball guy, though. I don't think he owns a suit or a pair of dress shoes. The dude is a constant. He's in basketball mode all the time. So I know that's his primary focus is getting somewhere where he can play, be comfortable, and try to be who he is.
Do you think the rhetoric played a huge part, though, after a number of years of people saying he joined and all of that, and can he set the table and win a championship in a situation like he's at now in Brooklyn?
Yeah, that's a challenge, obviously, and you've got to be, you've got to be an all-time great to take on that type of responsibility in terms of leading the team toward that title goal. And again, he played a leadership role in the championships in Golden State, obviously, and then him being out of the lineup this year, I thought was the difference. Obviously, when you have him on the floor, you're just that much better.
Yeah. Now, with the rhetoric. Speaking of rhetoric, it's like we would always hear, like Steve Kerr mentioned, he's the best player in the NBA. And then when he was injured, hey, you got Steph Curry saying best player in the NBA, Klay saying best player in the NBA, and we're saying, geez, well, Steph Curry could maybe make a claim to that. Why is he saying that? Did guys think he was? Like, what was behind everybody saying?
Yeah, I just think because KD can get you a basket at any time, and there are times where. But depending on the defender, right, it's a little bit difficult for Steph sometimes, or his shot selection is maybe a little bit limited based on who's defending him. Great nonetheless, right? But KD's one of those guys where, most of the time when he's healthy, nobody can guard him one-on-one, position 1 through 5. So when you look at that, and there are stages in the game where you need to be able to just give a guy the ball and get a basket, he's one of those guys that can do that.
And what about the fact that Curry relented there, right? You're talking about a guy that's going to go down as an all-time great.
Right.
How special was he as a teammate to be able to humble himself? Because he could have fought that off, Dave.
Right.
It's 2-time MVP, right?
Right.
But he did not do it. How special is that to be around a guy like
it's
that?
It's not in his personality. He's just going to sort of do what's best for the team. there were times, when I was there, I remember specifically having to tell him to be selfish, which, sounds crazy, but, he was so concerned about making sure KD was comfortable, making sure that, Clay's not, getting forgotten. So he's like, okay, well, I'll let those guys do what they have to do, and then, if I have to really turn it up in the fourth quarter or so, he does it. But he's wired to win, wired to make things right. So if that means him adjusting or taking a back seat for a game or two, or making everybody feel that someone else is sort of leading the charge, things don't change much in the locker room, though, right? Steph is still the leader, and things start and end and begin with him.
Yeah, and Andre said he's disrespected by his peers. Is he disrespected by his peers?
Steph Curry.
Yeah,
I think so. He's just. I think the biggest disrespect comes from the officials. I mean, I've watched guys, beat him up and physically, knock him around. And, I always said that there were times where he just didn't get the calls that he should have gotten. And, I mean, as much as he plays with the balls and constantly in screening opportunities, there were games where he'd get 2 or 3 free throw attempts, and you're like, there's no way a guy his caliber can be on the floor for 44 minutes and only shoot 2 or 3 free throws.
Yeah, Kendrick Perkins sat in that seat you're sitting in right
Mm-hmm.
now and told us that Steph Curry doesn't come up big in the postseason in the NBA Finals. Is that accurate in your mind?
He's won. He's won games. He's made big plays. Again, I just think that, every time you step into a moment, you got a chance to be successful or not. I don't think he shies away from those moments. He takes big shots. He tries to dagger people on a consistent basis. So I wouldn't necessarily agree with that. I wouldn't say that he doesn't.
I don't agree with it either. We went back and forth. So
Yeah.
Explain to me how a guy can score 60 points in limited minutes. He can score about 35 and a quarter, 27 and a quarter, and yet people still think that he could not be a number one option, and that's obviously another former teammate of yours,
Yeah.
Klay Thompson.
Yeah, I don't understand that one. I've never.
But you've heard that rhetoric.
Yeah, and I think it's just people just get this idea. First of all, I think people get it confused about how hard it is to do what he does, right? I was just having this conversation with somebody. There are not many guys that can be as effective without the basketball, and he has to trust that the ball is going to find him because he's not a playmaker off the bounce. So he's got to have unbelievable trust in his teammates to screen to get him open, the guys who are passing the ball to hit him in his window.
And to get so open that they have no choice but to
pass it to him. Right. And that's a lot in terms of like his effectiveness. That's just who Klay is. But I never bought into the idea that he's somehow a second fiddle type talent. I mean, the dude is unbelievable in terms of his preparation and his approach on both sides of the ball.
Who walks back out there with an ACL? I mean,
Yeah,
that's what impressed me about him. People don't get that.
Dude.
This dude walked back out there, and then he jumped up and down and hopped around.
Like he was going to try to play.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was actually, when he did that, I immediately texted Bob and was like, that's an ACL. And Bob said, well, he's in the tunnel acting like it's not. I said, that's just Klay. He's that strong. Like, if he's hurt, he's really hurt. He's probably one of the few teammates I've ever had that, like, he just doesn't. Like, he's going to play regardless. And if he's hurt, Klay is really hurt. Like, if he's missing a game, he's really hurt because he's just not going to miss games if he's nicked up or banged up or anything like that.
Now, you made some deep runs, and these guys made 5 of them.
Right.
How much do you think it was these deep runs that led to all these injuries?
Yeah, it's a part of it. And, again, they want to play. So, even I know this year they had some conversations with guys. They were probably playing a little bit too many minutes in that mid chunk of the season. There were games where you don't want to get those guys like that into the 40s too early, and they had a few of those games. But also they don't want to not play. Steph and KD and Klay, Draymond, they want to play basketball, so they're gonna, short of their limb hanging off, or Steve has had in a lot of ways has had to curb them and shut them down because their instincts are just to go. Like Klay legitimately thought he could probably keep playing even with a messed up knee.
It's an arms race going on down south of the Bay Area in L.A. And, both teams are loading up, and they've loaded up better than any teams I've seen in a long time.
Right.
you look like you can still play. Has anybody called you up to add to that load up down there? Because it seems like they're playing chess. They're just going back and forth.
Yeah, I don't know how that's. I don't know how. I'm definitely not available. That's not. But I don't know how that's going to play out. Obviously, I think you've got to have, guys who understand the buy-in. So I think there's going to be an adjustment with the LeBron AD group. Just because, from my perspective, Kawhi and Paul are a bit better adjusted because they play both sides of the ball. So you're going to be easily, able to sort of get after it, and that group will probably be a more cohesive group sooner because your two main guys give honest effort on defense. So that'll be the biggest difference, I think, between those two groups. And those other pieces obviously are gonna play a role. I think the Avery Bradley thing was strategic because he's going to have to play defense. The same way I think the Clippers are wired to play defense.
By the way, I have seen the team load up like they're loading up down there. He played for one in 2017 where they went on to win the NBA after adding Kevin Durant to a 73-win team. But now Durant is gone. Clay's hurt. Iguodala is gone. Is the dynasty gone?
I don't know. Obviously Clay being out is going to be a big piece. I think they reloaded obviously with D'Angelo. That'll help them. I thought he made unbelievable strides for himself this year, having the year he had in Brooklyn. I was happy to see him do that, particularly after the way he was exited out of LA. He responded the right way. You know what I'm saying? Responded like a pro and responded like somebody who took his business seriously. And I think he was rewarded, with going to an organization like Golden State where it's going to be a bit of an adjustment for him. He's going to, have some more personal responsibility because Steve is not going to, hammer you. He's going to depend on you to be a professional and take care of your business. But I still think, obviously, if you got Steph, you got a shot. I think he just got to lead the league in scoring. That's all.
Justin and I have continuously talked about how first class the Golden State Warriors organization is. And you just mentioned that you text Bob Myers when Klay Thompson got hurt. And obviously he got some negativity based on the Kevin Durant situation and him playing and all of that. Just tell us basically about how professional this organization is and did they take an unfair hit?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, they're completely open, completely honest. Steve is very transparent. Bob is very transparent. And they try to communicate, with the guys. They don't make decisions, without sort of the influence and the feedback from the players. And, when it comes to the KD situation, like KD wanted to play. I mean, if anybody who knows KD personally knows, like, his most comfortable place is on the basketball court. And where he would rather be 99.9% of the time is on the basketball court. So, he wanted to be out there. For most guys, you're going to push, particularly an opportunity to win a championship again. You want to be out there. And I thought that was his focus. The Warriors obviously have done things at a high level. They've won a lot of games, and they've got an organization and a structure that has been successful for them. So they stick to it. Like I said, there's nothing going on in there that at least the players aren't aware of because, again, they tell and they talk and they're open. Steve has basically a sit-down classroom session every day, and everything is out in the open.
D. West, appreciate you sitting down.
Absolutely. Good to see you guys.
West.
Thanks, Dave.